For many years, I struggled with anxiety and its sibling, procrastination. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 biggest things that helped me to overcome anxiety, reduce it, virtually eliminate it in my life, and become productive and effective in getting ahead to my goals. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Andre, and this channel is about helping men achieve their dreams and their goals in life. Okay, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way to building and accomplishing mine, and I share from those. So, anxiety. I'm not going to get into the science behind how it happens, what causes it, and so forth. If you have it, that's probably why you're here watching this video, because the title attracted to you, right? So I'm just going to assume that on somewhere on the spectrum, you deal with anxiety. The good news is that it is something that you can overcome, eliminate, so forth, at least in my experience. So of the 3 things that helped me the most, here's the first one. I learned that for me, action cures anxiety. The way I would experience anxiety is that it would start in my head, right? If you're anything like me, it's usually probably by overthinking everything. And then it would travel down into my body. And the way I describe that feeling is that once anxiety had become big enough and strong enough to get a grip on me physically, it's like a tightness in my chest, right? Sort of like this hollow feeling of like impending doom or danger in my stomach. And it would lead to just an overall slowing down of everything, if you can relate at all. Action, by getting into motion, for me became the fastest and simplest way to start shaking off anxiety. Now, there's 2 things I want to point out about actions as distinctions or clarifications that helped me a lot. One is this. Initially, for me, my anxiety was very directly correlated to and interlinked with procrastination. The way I started initially to take action was, instead of focusing on getting my to-do list done or getting the work done, I started taking action by simply saying, I'm going to work for 2 90-minute sessions back to back with a 5-minute break, and I'm going to measure my success based upon, did I complete the 2 90-minute sessions, not based upon how much progress did I make towards accomplishing my goal, okay? A big part of what can trigger anxiety, and then we use procrastination to try to escape the anxiety, which only creates more anxiety later, is when we constantly measure ourselves from where we're at to where we want to be as the goal, and then we feel that gap, and then that can create a lot of different emotions, a lot of different feelings, a lot of different thoughts. And I've talked about self-mastery and controlling your thoughts and energy in other videos. But a big part of that for me that would trigger anxiety is constantly filtering every single moment of the day from the moment I woke up through the lens of, this is where I want to be and this is where I'm at. And it's just focusing on this gap. You with me? So what I learned to do is, instead of focusing on, am I at the done state yet? Did I get the outcome yet? Did I get the goal yet? Instead, I just said, and I realized, look, every big goal is accomplished through a certain amount of action, a certain amount of work, right? So, and what I would do is have all these thoughts, have all this anxiety, right? Do all this fake work, I called it, where it's like you're procrastinating, but you're pretending to be working because you're preparing, or you're researching a little bit more, or you're overthinking something, but it's really just procrastination, right? It's not effective action. And so I would fall into these loops, and then I could look back 2, 3, 4, 5 days and be like, I haven't really gotten anything done yet. And then that would create more anxiety. Maybe you can relate. So what I did is I said, okay, look, this happened back in 2016, I think. I sat down one day and I was like, all right, this is just nonsense. Look back over the previous week. I've really gotten nothing done. But yet somehow my time went somewhere. I can at least carve out 2 90-minute sessions And no matter how I feel, just show up and do the work. And I can do this for 3 to 4 days a week. So I started going to a coffee shop, getting my cup of coffee, opening up my laptop, setting a timer on my phone for 90 minutes, putting the phone on silent mode, and just working through the to-do list. And again, it wasn't about getting something done. It was about just putting in an honest 90 minutes, taking a 5-minute break, and then doing another 90 minutes. And I let go of measuring my progress and instead started measuring my adherence to and my alignment with the process of just taking action. Now, again, depending on how intense your anxiety is and your procrastination is, when I started doing that, it's insane how much like internal and inner friction I experienced mentally and emotionally. And most people wouldn't think that I suffered with anxiety and procrastination looking at me today and how I live my life and my energy and everything. But as they say, the greatest area of pain is meant to be your greatest area of rain. And the reason why I'm strong in the areas that I'm strong in today is usually because I was very weak in them once upon a time and I learned how to overcome them. But what I want to share with you is that if you apply this formula of just setting a timer and just committing to the process and letting go of measuring the daily progress, that doesn't mean you're going to eliminate the anxious feelings. It's just, I'm saying you're going to have to show up and do the work with those feelings there present. And it's okay if you move fast, if you move slow, as long as you're actually chipping away and honestly putting in the work and not doing anything else but the work. And as soon as the 2 90-minute sprints were done, boom, I could then do anything I wanted to for the rest of the day. Ironically, it's really weird. Every time I would do the 2 90-minute sessions, right before I would finish the second session, all kinds of head trash would pop up trying to get me not to do it. The second I finish it, guess what I wanted to do? More work. You know exactly what I'm saying. Suddenly I just felt so productive, so awesome, so great. Quite often I would put in an extra hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes until I ran out of steam. Now what happened is week by week, I actually started accomplishing a lot more because I was just carving out time that I was putting into the work. And I actually started making progress. So again, for me, the way I started taking action there was focusing on putting in 2 90-minute sessions, letting go of measuring my days, whether my day was successful or not based upon progress towards the ultimate goal. And instead, I measured success by my process, my adherence to and alignment with the structure that I set for myself. What happened is that by consistently doing that, I actually started to reduce my anxiety because I was starting to actually accomplish things, get things done, make things happen, which as soon as those things started happening, the things that I was holding on to subconsciously because I wasn't getting them done that were causing the anxiety, the root cause was gone, so a lot of the anxiety went away, okay? The other thing that started happening is after a few 2-3 days of putting consistent work like that, I would start to get really close to finishing something or shipping something or launching something. And on the following day, when I would wake up in the morning, I would be really excited for my 2 90-minute sessions. Because I was like, man, I think I'm going to get this done today, right? So then it would really excite me because I was getting close to finishing it. The other thing that I'll point out as a distinction about taking action is this. Taking action on bigger goals. Taking action on going for things that make you nervous, but excite you, but maybe scare you a little, but they're really the next step to your big dreams. And I learned a technique from Brooke Castillo that is really powerful, and I'll share it here with you. She calls it worthy fails. And what you do is you map out 25 things, 25 actions you're going to take in 1 quarter, 1 3-month period. I like to think of it as 12 weeks. But you measure it and you do 25 things in a 12-week period, 25 actions. And these actions, you're doing them intentionally to fail. Here's why. If the thing that's keeping you back from going after something big is the fear of failure, which is quite often the case with overthinkers like us and the super analytical types like us. If the thing that's holding you back from going after the thing is fear of failure, flip it on its head. Mental jiu-jitsu, right? Mental aikido. Do it to fail. So instead of, because our brain will give us resistance when we want to succeed at something, and one of the ways it can give us resistance is fear of failure. But if you say, I actually know I'm going to fail at this, most likely statistically, but I'm going to do it just for fun, just for shits and giggles, just for the story. So those 25 things might look like calling 25 potential people to book them for a podcast that you've been procrastinating on launching, right? Those 25 things might look like a mix of certain things, maybe contacting 10 different people, taking 5 different actions, right? Calling on 7 different potential people to buy something, whatever it might be. It's, I'm right now off the top of my head, I'm not coming up with all kinds of different things that might relate to you because there's an infinite number of 25 things any of us would map out to take that is something aligned with a big 10x goal, right? But the point is that map out, get clear on a really big goal, like huge goal, like it's got to really excite you, make you nervous. And then ask yourself, theoretically, if I were to go for it, not saying I will, but if I was, because you got to play little tricks with your brain, right? Your overthinker brain. If I was to do it, hypothetically, just talking here, what are 25 actions I would take? Like if I wasn't afraid and couldn't fail. You know the corny thing where people, life gurus always ask, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Right? Okay. Well, this is the game you play here. What are 25 things I would do or try as action steps to get to my big, huge goal if I knew I couldn't fail? Map those out. Now say, okay, fuck it. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it to fail. Like most likely I'm not going to succeed at this. I don't care. I just want to do it just for the fun of it. Now here's what happens. Law of large numbers kicks in. And what's really hilarious is that out of 25 worthy fails, a few of them are not going to fail. You're going to stick the landing on them somehow. And what that will do is suddenly, magically, I don't know how to put it into words for you if you haven't experienced it, it will just elevate you to such a level of like, whoa, that's exciting. Something big is happening. And when you tap into that energy frequency, when you elevate to that altitude, a lot of anxiety just immediately melts away. It's like your inner kid gets unlocked and you start to dream again and you start to be excited for life again. Like Ralph Waldo Emerson says, he who does the thing shall have the power. Going for it and doing the thing unlocks power, and power, momentum, energy unlocks new opportunities, new options, new doors. Okay? Second thing that helped me to really overcome procrastination, anxiety, and its sibling, procrastination. Mental information diet. Mental information diet. So if you're anything like me, you rarely ever sit still, especially mentally. There's a strong chance that you're probably constantly consuming content, YouTube videos, podcasts, reading blogs, researching things. You're probably consistently and regularly reading books, reading different kinds of literature, right? Listening to music. There's always like an input. Okay? Now, let me ask you this. If you were going to the gym all the time and you were in the gym 24/7 working out, what would happen? Absolute exhaustion. Right? Absolute depletion and exhaustion. Take 2 to 4 weeks and eliminate at least 50% of the information that you're constantly consuming, and especially like social media detox, right? You've heard this probably before. Reels, right? TikToks, all that stuff. We don't notice it, but by God, it puts such a drain on us. And when we're feeling drained, in my experience for me, when I feel drained, I just get this sense of anxiety that grows, that just wells up from nowhere, right? Maybe it's because I'm feeling drained. Maybe it's because I'm worried that now I'm not going to have the energy or the mental sharpness and acuity to make progress on my goals or do the work. It could be 101 different reasons. You know how it is if you have anxiety. The point is that by suddenly doing a at least 50% information elimination diet, you're going to free up a lot of space in your mind, and your brain's going to feel less cluttered and overwhelmed. When you feel overwhelmed, that's a very big trigger in my experience for anxiety, right? And we don't notice it because a lot of times we use information as an escape from we oftentimes try to use information, whether it's podcasts, videos, blogs, courses, books, Instagram Reels, TikTok Shorts, whatever, right? We oftentimes try to use information and entertainment as an escape from anxiety, but then the deluge, the fire hose of information that we then consume overwhelms our brain so much that it triggers its own version of anxiety. So now you've got double anxiety, if that makes sense. Obviously, I'm explaining this all in very pedestrian terms, right? By reducing the amount of inputs you're constantly flooding your brain with, you actually create some breathing room and space. So I cannot overstate the importance of setting up boundaries of how much information you're going to bombard your brain with. I once heard it said that every time you watch a new reel on Instagram, if you're like doom scrolling, every new reel you watch, your brain has to do this. I forget the scientific explanation, but your brain has to do this reset to begin a new experience. So if you watch 30 reels, it's like you just fried your brain having to reset to figure out 30 new experiences. Our brains, technology is evolving faster than our brains are. We're not mentally equipped to do this kind of stuff. That's not how our brains are designed. So for 2 to 4 weeks, eliminate at least 50% of your consumption time. If at all possible, completely stay off social media reels like Instagram Reels, TikTok Shorts. Only consume information that is super relevant to maybe what you're working on or what you need, and information you're going to take action on, all right? And just absolutely cut out negative information, the news, anything like that. Just cut it out. And you will find that your anxiety just suddenly starts to very quickly dissipate, okay? And that leads me to my third thing, which is a dopamine detox. And the reason why I make this separate from information is because dopamine detox is its own type of thing. A lot of times we think that we're drained or we have low energy or low testosterone as men, but I found that in many cases and situations, it's actually that we're just dopamine fried. Now, doing an information diet is going to go a long ways towards helping with a dopamine detox, especially if you cut out doom scrolling on social media. But to further the dopamine detox, what I would strongly encourage you to practice is extended periods of silence without any input of anything, even music. So, and if you can do it outdoors. So sitting or going for a walk for 30 minutes to an hour in absolute silence. Boy, for overthinkers, a lot of thoughts start to come up. I cannot put into words how valuable a dopamine detox is for really fast thinkers and overthinkers like you and I. you have no idea probably how hot your brain is running until you've actually done an information elimination diet and a dopamine detox. And by dopamine, I'm talking about a lot of things. Try to reduce your sugar as much as possible, right? Eliminate porn for a while if you watch it. Cut back on junk food. Cut back on distracting pleasures you're constantly engaging in mindlessly. Just really try to do a full-on dopamine detox. And I'm not saying go cold turkey. I'm saying reduce by 50% and maybe 100% eliminate some things. Okay? Like maybe, again, if you eat a lot of chips, drink a lot of soda, and watch a lot of porn, cut those out 100% for a couple of weeks. Even 7 days, you'll be amazed at your energy levels. One thing I'll say within the context of dopamine detox is when you practice silence, whether it's through sitting or walking, at the end of the sitting or walking, what I found really helped me is to journal. My thoughts, whatever they are, just journal. I know it's corny and cliche, but what it does is it helps you to kind of get things out of your head and onto paper. For me, when I've done that, it helps to reduce anxiety because I think what happens is that my brain's like, oh, okay, I've got that written down, so I don't have to keep remembering it and holding it on because now that I've written it down, I won't forget it. But I wrote it down and then I never reread it. But somehow, for my blessed brain, if I write it down, oh, okay, now it can relax because we wrote it down, so it's not gonna be lost. Whatever, but it works. So, as a sub point to dopamine detox for 2 to 4 weeks. Journal. Get all that stuff out of your head. It's like a release valve. And for me, that helped to really lower my anxiety. Doing these 3 things, especially if you combine them all together, are from my best recollection and looking at my life, are the 3 most effective and powerful things that I've ever done, do, and as needed will continue to do to reduce my anxiety, eliminate my anxiety, and then also overcome and eliminate its sibling, procrastination. For me, when I fall into anxiety and allow my anxiety to build up, typically the symptom of that shows immediately, besides how I feel in my mind and my body, is that I start to procrastinate. I engage in procrastination. And as soon as I start to engage in procrastination, I now at this point know what's probably causing it for me is some anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. So then I look to those 3 things. I got other little tactics and strategies that I engage in, but by and large, broad strokes, the 3 things I just shared with you are very big levers you can pull that will get you a lot of bang for your buck in terms of making progress on reducing anxiety, overcoming anxiety, right? And then being able to short circuit procrastination, actually get recharged, excited, right? Get to a higher elevation energetically and feel like, yes, I'm killing it. I'm making progress. I've got life on lock. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm getting where I want to go.